Welcome to the EntrePastors Podcast on YouTube. This is a show that helps pastors think, act, and thrive as prosperous entrepreneurs. This is episode number 200 of the EntrePastors Podcast. That's a pretty cool milestone for us to be hitting. And incidentally, today is the 4th of July, 2024, that I'm recording this episode. I'll keep this one a little shorter than normal. I was going to share an interview this week, but I thought, you know what? I had some reflection last night. I had a little bit of time to sit and think about the holiday that we're coming into, and I made a couple connections in my brain to our community and some of the things we talk about often here at EntrePastors. So I think I'm going to title this episode something like, Are You Willing to Pay the Price of Freedom? Because as we know, and I know it's a little cliche, but freedom is not free. The freedoms we enjoy in this nation came at a very significant cost. And I'm grateful for that. For me, the 4th of July is truly probably my second or third favorite holiday of all holidays. The first being Thanksgiving. I love Thanksgiving. But anywho, I love the 4th of July. I love my nation. I love our freedoms. I'm not unaware of the fact that we have significant problems and issues in our country. But I'm just telling you, there's no other place on the planet that I would want to be and live than this nation. And I'm thankful for all of the blessings that I have enjoyed in a lifetime growing up in a free country. As I was thinking about the community that we serve here at EntrePastors, it caused me to write a little piece that I put out on my Facebook profile today, and I titled it, In Bondage on Independence Day. Because even though we live in a country that's free, relatively speaking, the truth is there are all kinds of people living in bondage of all kinds of different types of things that are holding them back, keeping them trapped, keeping them stuck. And certainly this community that we serve is no exception to that. The truth is, EntrePastors serves a lot of pastors who feel genuinely stuck in a place of pastoral poverty. And I don't want to make it sound as extreme as, fighting for the freedom of a nation and the war of independence that it took to buy that. But there are some similarities. There's a few things that I want to point out as I was reflecting. What was it about our founding fathers? What was the price tag that they had to pay? And I think there's some parallels, because the reality is this: the price of freedom is the same regardless of what the freedom is that you are looking to be set free from, or what the bondage is that you're looking to be set free from. The price tag is the same. The degree to which you have to go to pay that price may differ, right, depending on what it is we're breaking free from. In this case, in the story of our nation's independence, they're breaking free of tyranny. So I don't want to make it as dramatic of a metaphor, but the metaphor still stands. So I want to just create a little piece of content here today for any pastor who's like, you know what, John and Les, I am in that place of pastoral poverty. I have been working for years as a pastor. I love serving people. I love, the calling that God has placed upon my life. But when it comes to my financial situation, I feel very much trapped. I'm broke. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. We're putting nothing aside for like retirement years down the road. We're not really doing anything. We're not able to do anything for long-term savings, whether that be for college or other major expenses. Like, we are literally just getting by and doing without a lot. And it's very much all in the name of ministry. If I had a different job, I would make more money. And I'm stuck because I don't want a different job. I know God has called me to this, and I'm stuck in a place of pastoral poverty. I want to talk to you for just a minute and ask the question, are you willing to break free from that? If you just want to kind of stay in it, stay stuck, complain about it, that's fine. We're not going to be able to help you. But if you're ready to break out of that, if you're ready to do something different and get different results, I want to just highlight 4 things as I look back to our nation's foundation and some of the price tags that our founding fathers had to pay in order to buy the freedoms that we enjoy today. So let's see if this works. Let's see if there's any parallels here between our nation's independence and your independence from financial, pastoral poverty. Okay, so here's the first thing that I thought about. Our founding fathers had to get to the place where they were completely fed up with the status quo. They had kind of been handed a system, if you will. They were born into it, and nobody really questioned it. No one really challenged it. This is just how life is. This is how it works. And they came to a place of going, you know what? Enough is enough. We've been pushed far enough. We're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And they got to the place where they recognized, you know what? I'm no longer willing to accept the results that this current system is delivering to us. Now, again, that may sound like extreme language, but I want you to just think about this for a moment. We who are serving in traditional pastoral ministry, we didn't build this system. We inherited it. We grew up in it. It was what was transferred to us. There's some good things about, very many good things about our spiritual foundation and our heritage, but is it possible that we can question the system a little bit and go, wait a minute, I don't know that this is the healthiest system. And the evidence that I would hold up and point to is the fact that thousands of pastors quit ministry every single year, and they walk away worse for it. As they study pastors' families and do research, overwhelmingly they're finding that pastors and their families are looking at the toll that pastoral ministry took upon them as overwhelmingly a negative thing. Pastors are leaving ministry by the thousands, feeling utterly defeated, discouraged, as though they've failed, disillusioned. Like, it is not healthy, by and large, the system that we have. And I'm just curious if you've gotten to the place yet of being fed up with it, to go, you know what, I'm sick and tired of this. I'm done with this type of system. It doesn't mean you're quitting on God. It doesn't mean you're quitting on your calling. It just means you're kind of done with the results that you're getting in this system. Our founding fathers got to that place, which then led to the next thing. Number two, they had to risk looking like radicals to everyone else who was still kind of okay with the status quo. There was a name for our founding fathers. They were called rabble-rousers. They were called troublemakers. They were called extremists. I'm sure if our woke culture of today were labeling them back in that time, they would be called, distributors of disinformation. They were disruptors. Today, we hold them up on pedestals. Today, we blow up fireworks and cook out and celebrate their contribution to our freedoms. But in their day, they were the early adopters of an idea that said, you know what, we're going to propose some things that, stick with me, this is going to sound a little radical. What if we threw off a tyrannical government? What if we stood up in the face of tyranny and said, we're not taking this anymore? And again, I don't want to make this too extreme of a parallel to those of you that are stuck in pastoral poverty, but I will say this. You're going to have to stand up against the status quo and the system that so many people just accept as normal, and then they're going to look at you like you're the crazy one if you start saying these things. I'm fully aware of that. Les and I at EntrePastors, we are fully aware of the fact that a lot of people are going to look at us and go, man, these guys are crazy. They're saying some radical things, like they're pushing against a system that has been well established and traditional, and no one's really ever questioned this until now. And I'm not saying like Les and I've totally figured this thing out all on our own, but we're saying some things out loud that a lot of people have said in private, silent conversations or thought to themselves, but it's still not fully safe to just come out and say these things out loud without looking like a totally crazy person. Well, you're going to have to risk being willing to say the unpopular things and look a little extreme and a little radical if you want to break free from this, because if not, you're going to stay stuck in the place that you are. All right, number three, they had to take courageous action and actually defy the system. They had to stand up to the system. This is where their lives were put on the line. Up until this point, it's just a lot of talk, a lot of ideas, a lot of theory. But there comes a point where you have to act. You have to start taking different actions to break free from the system. In the case of our founding fathers, that looked like them actually standing up to a tyrannical government and defying, disobeying, pushing back on, choosing not to follow the orders of what was handed down. And again, that's going to sound extreme when we think about, comparing that to where pastors are in the system that they're working. But here's what's not extreme, and here's what is true and applies in both cases. It's going to require courage. You cannot have freedom without courage. And courage doesn't mean, by the way, that you don't feel fear. Like it's a fearful thing. We, as at EntrePastors, we work with pastors every week and have conversations every week and expose and peel back the layers that ultimately get down to fear in many cases that's holding pastors back from stepping forward. They're afraid. And the feelings of that fear is real. They fear what their church is going to say. They fear what the board is going to say. They fear what their peers are going to say. They fear failing and looking like, man, I tried stepping out and starting a business to better provide for my family, and what if it doesn't work? They might fear actually succeeding in that. What if I actually start thriving financially and have significant margin in my family finances? I don't know if I'm ready for that. So there's a lot of fear. Fear is okay. It's a real feeling. What's not okay is to let that fear keep you paralyzed. And I praise God for our founding fathers that pushed through probably very real feelings of fear with courage. Courage is taking action in the face of fear. It's acting in spite of the very real feelings of fear that I'm experiencing. And so for you, thankfully, this isn't going to necessarily look like standing up with your life to a tyrannical government, but it could mean you need to go start a business, and you need not worry about asking anyone's permission to do it. Do it with wisdom, do it with humility, but just do it with courage and move forward. And you're not asking permission because at the end of the day, you don't need anyone's permission to provide for your family. And if you're in a system that is either unable or unwilling to provide adequately for the needs of your family, you do what you need to do. You take the action that you need to take to get the freedom that you need to have financially. Does that make sense? And again, I'm grateful for the courage of our founding fathers to defy the system and to stand up against that. All right, here's the last thing I want to say, and then we'll wrap it up with this. Our founding fathers recognized something, that they were not just fighting for their own well-being in their own lives, but that they were fighting for the future generations that were yet to come. The truth is, for many of our founding fathers, this was going to cost them their life. Like they were going to shed their blood in the name of freedom for future generations. They were putting it all on the line in order that their sons and daughters and their grandsons and granddaughters and great-grandsons and great-granddaughters would know what it was to grow up in a land of freedom and opportunity where the people rule and where they are not ruled by a king. And again, that's extreme when we make that crossover to where you are, Pastor, but I do want you to think for just a moment. Is it worth you sacrificing your reputation of what your seminary buddies think of you? Is it worth you pushing through the discomfort of facing a church family, a church board that may not be real excited about you out, in the marketplace starting a business, in order to set up a completely different chain of events for your future generations to come? What if your children grow up never feeling some of the experiences that you've had in pastoral poverty? What if they don't have to kind of hold their breath at the checkout line hoping that there's enough money in their checking account to buy groceries for their family this week? What if they know what it is to have options in front of them and to start seeing all of the possibilities and the opportunities instead of constantly struggling with the limitations of, I don't have enough money, I don't have the resources to do this or to do that? There's way more at stake, Pastor, than just you and your comfort. So are you willing to fight for the future generations? Are you willing to break out of the poverty that you're stuck in right now in order to provide better and to completely change the narrative and the dynamic of your family tree in years to come? That's my challenge to you as we are celebrating this Independence Day. Don't be living in bondage in a day where otherwise we're celebrating freedom and independence. My prayer for you is that you would actually be walking forward in liberty. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. It's 4th of July. I got stuff to go blow up and freedom to celebrate with my family. So we're going to sign off with this shorter episode this week. Hey, one quick resource that I want to tell you about. If you are sitting here going, John, this all sounds amazing, I'm ready to take a start, I don't even know where to begin, can I just point you to an absolutely free resource? It's called our Get Started Guide. If you go to EntrePastors.com/start, you can download our Get Started Guide and get set up with the very first steps you need to take as you begin to think about launching a business out in the marketplace. And then if you have questions at any point along the way, we're here to answer your questions, to walk alongside of you, and to encourage and support and celebrate the freedom that you're moving towards. So go get it, EntrePastors.com/start. Guys, thank you for tuning in and joining this week. Hope you had a great 4th of July, as you'll be hearing this the day after when this releases. But hope you still have all your fingers intact and you've had a fantastic day celebrating our freedoms that we enjoy in this great nation that we call the United States of America. God bless everybody. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you on next week's episode. Well, hey, thanks for watching this episode of the EntrePastors Podcast. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can be notified every time we release a new episode. If you'd like to get connected to other pastors who are learning to think, act, and thrive as prosperous entrepreneurs, then we invite you to check us out on Facebook. Just search for the EntrePastors Connect group, answer a few of our simple questions there, and we'd love to include you in the conversations. And if you're really ready to go to the next level, then we invite you to join our EntrePastors membership community. When you become a monthly subscriber, you will receive access to courses, exclusive community, and coaching that will help you along in your own EntrePastors journey. If there's anything else we can do to serve you, please visit us at EntrePastors.com, and we will do our best to serve you there. God bless everybody. See you soon.